speaking of collapsing businesses and failing enterprises, you want to go to AEW now for the big AEW 300 episode? Whew. You know, there have been 7,500 episodes, I bet, of Meet the Press. I'm not sure anybody wants to go back and watch more than one or two of them. But they were in Ontario, California, right up the road from Cucamonga. So the Buckaroos got to go home and actually do a little travel log for us. But somebody on Twitter, Brian, put up the numbers and I lost it. And I couldn't find it again. So the data is there if you'd like to search for it, anyone. But it was a comparison of the viewership of AEW 100, 200, and 300. And I know we're going to do the ratings for this one later on, but they started at 1 million plus for 100, and they were still at 800,000 plus for 200. And I bet you they didn't make 800,000 for 300. I'll put that money down right now. We'll talk about it later.
No, and there's been like this argument that, AEW's up. The numbers are up. Tony just said it in can, and Dave Meltzer said it. That if you look at it
in the can?
Well, I think then they try to say that if you look at it year over year, they're up. And then people are like, wait a minute, what? That doesn't make any sense. But specifically, the example I saw the other day was if you look at the fourth quarter of 2024 versus the second quarter of 2025, there are parts that are up.
Okay.
It's nonsensical.
And I know some people are, but they're on the max. They're on the max. They weren't on the max between 100 and 200 when they lost a couple of 100,000. So we'll see where the max leads them now. Anyway, the opening contest, actually not a contest, the opening segment, it was a contest between my eyes as to whether I could keep them open or not, was Hangnail Page coming to the ring and doing his promo about the big AEW world title match and his chance at Dick the Boozer. And he had his stink face on as usual, but he had some conviction to this. He called it the AEW Men's World Championship again, which again is such odd terminology that nobody else says. Do we think he's going for Mercedes until we realize it's the men's title he's talking about? What is he confused somehow as to which one he should be going for? But anyway, while I thought that this was still kind of memorized, overly dramatic material that he comes up with in his head, he gave it more oomph than normal. He didn't fumfer. And as I said, he had some conviction in his voice, so it wasn't bad. And he wants to make it a Texas death match at All In. It's the first match they've had. Did they wrestle each other a few years back? Whatever. This is the big, why do they need to make this match the ultimate blow-off match? Not like I want to see it again either, but you see what I'm saying, Brian?
Yeah. Well, even
can't they just have a fucking match?
But even if you did want to make it that, I think there needed to be more reasoning for it to be a Texas death match other than, I've decided it should be this.
Well, they're in Texas. So what else could it be? So he wants to make it a Texas death match. Well, then here comes Dick the Boozer and Marina Schaefer, and they stagger on through the crowd, and they get the ring, or into the ring, and at least Moxley does. Every time he gets in the ring, he brings the energy level down some way, doesn't he? Because he's feeling like he's being so intense because he's so into this character that nobody understands, nobody gives a shit about, and he's a wannabe tough guy, but he's so into it that he thinks he can take the dramatic pauses or the verbal meanderings around the fucking mulberry bush, and everybody's going to hang on it, I guess, because that's the way he's acting. But in the meantime, he never fucking says anything that He says a lot. But if you write it down and try to figure it out afterwards, and he says Page won't win because he doesn't want to win. There's too much pressure. You can't handle that. You really don't. You want the secondary title. And the fans were chanting, shut the fuck up. I think they meant it. And then he wants to take a joust, I guess, at apparently Moxley's still butthurt at Punk's existence. I don't know what else could have cut. Because Punk, has he had the occasion to speak of Moxley? Or did Moxley just throw it in? People call themselves the best in the world. Well, that's basic bitch shit. I'm so much more than that. What? You're not even that.
It's weird because you could tell it was a forced line, and it was one that he thought about, and he had the line ready, but then he kind of stumbled out of it. It was the only time.
Well, yeah, he gave it, and then he started to try to get back into his promo, and he fumfered because maybe he was just proud of himself. But besides the fact that verbally he's throwing rocks at a man with a machine gun, what is the purpose? Otherwise than they're just still butthurt that the guy that could draw him some ratings left. Anyway, he rambled for a while and he strained like he was constipated. And then he told Page that a Texas death match would be the end of it. And then Page gave him a pissy girl slap that didn't look even as good as the girl that actually slapped Page here in a minute. But he slaps Moxley. Moxley staggers and sells that and then double legs him and they have a fight. And old Wheeler comes in and nails Page, and Schaefer comes in, and that's when she slapped him harder than Page slapped Moxley. And then twice, and then 3, 4, and 5 times. And then Page just stood there like, I really want to do something to you. Claudio came in. They tackled Page. They got some sloppy and stationary heat on him, ripped his clothes off, gave him a big pedigree, and left him laying in the ring, right? And they walk out. And then Page gets back up and gets the microphone. Is that the best you can do? Have you had enough yet? Do you want some more? I used to do that as a heel line for the manager to get his heat back. I'd get up off my face, blown up, having had the shit kicked out of me. I said, have you had enough yet? So then Claudio goes back, but Samoa Joe is there at ringside to block him off. And then Hobbs joins Joe, but Marina Schaefer comes in and swings the case at Page. But Page grabs it. And then he tells Moxley to okay the Texas death match. And I'm like, this is fucking endless. And Moxley says okay, because now he's pissed, and he leaves. And then Page talks more, and Marina Schaefer is obviously standing in the ring for no reason. All her people have left. She's got her back turned to Page, and she's not moving. And then Page says, oh, I forgot one thing. And then jumps over the top, and she turns around and he buckshot lariats her, and that gets a big pop because she's been doing all this shit to the guys for so long. Yes, anybody gets their hands on her, that's wrestling 101. But now have we established that we can have a 230-pound guy buckshot lariat a woman on national cable television? This is the same network that sent us a memo in WCW 35 years ago about gratuitous violence on the gratuitous violence program.
You weren't allowed to use the term foreign object.
That's where the term international object came from. But it was so Marina got buckshotted, and they're going to have a Texas death match and all this. What else can Moxley do? He can't be constrained by the rules of an athletic endeavor. Elsewise, a Home Depot guy chokes him out in a 2-man jiu-jitsu tournament.
If that's the last match of the night, too, they're going to have the crowd all burned out by the time they even get to it.
Well, they could put it on early. Actually, you know what? How about this? I'm going to give right now Tony Khan, because he's got the budget. He can do anything. Have 2 rings. and in one ring, have the Texas death match and have it go 62 falls and last for 4 hours and 15 minutes. In the ring next to it, have the rest of the goddamn show at the same time. And it could be the first time that one match lasted longer than an entire card, but you don't have to keep the people there for 9 hours. What do you think?
Man, that Moxley promo was nonsensical. He's coming out there, the big bad heel. His issue with Paige is that he doesn't want it bad enough. He's like, you're not bad. The guy burned another guy's fucking house down on TV. And he's about to clothesline your valet. So, I mean, the argument, it was just ridiculous. Of all the issues to raise.
He's a blood drinker, for God's sake.
Of all the issues to raise, that was the one Moxley went with? The whole, I want you to be better. You have to want it more. You're happy. What the fuck? What an idiot.
So I can't wait for that contest there at the big pay-per-view.
AEW has really been pushing it with the violence, with the action from men and women. They were teasing it with Willow and Wheeler Yuta. I think Moxley did something to Willow. This was his this was the baby face giving his finisher. It wasn't like, oh, someone got out of the way. No, he intended to do it. It's a very interesting strategy.
Well, but here, and it got a pop. Here's the thing. They're probably safe with this because anybody watching this program now, it knows what they're watching and doesn't give a shit because it's all wrestling and it's the silly, phony wrestling crowd. And every wrestling crowd will pop on the heel valet getting the shit knocked out of her if she's got it coming because she's done all these things. But nobody's going to call the goddamn network out of this crowd. No innocent bystanders are watching this program at this point. So it's hard to think that anything they do will offend the people that are watching because they already know if the fucking presentation of the wrestling doesn't offend them, probably nothing else is going to. That's my belief. But sooner or later, the guy from Bristol Myers or fucking Campbell's Soup or whatever the fuck is going to goddamn accidentally see something and go, what in the hell is going on?
See, that's the thing. It's one thing the AEW fans accepting it, and you have to wonder if they would accept it if it was on the other show. But if WWE did something where Seth Rollins gave a curb stomp to Rhea Ripley, would sponsors speak up? Would fans be in outrage?
More sponsors than fans, they don't want to chance it because with a lot of these big corporations paying millions of dollars, you can't just, well, I'm sorry, we won't do it again. Well, you know, we had second thoughts about this whole thing to begin with, this crazy fucking shit you people do. So, but anyway, you know what? Here's the thing though, instead of just doing it for free, you could have goddamn worked a deal that's the first time anybody's really gotten Marina. So you could have worked a deal where if so-and-so beats Moxley, he gets 5 minutes with Marina. And people would pay to see that. And then fucking clothesline her and knock her silly. It just, here on TV for free, right before we go, boom. Let's get the first babyface shot at the girl that's beat up every man on the roster.
See, I think they can get away with that because it was not spontaneous, but it was something that kind of happened in the moment. If they actually had it as a stipulation for a match, I think that's where people would probably...
No, then it's on pay-per-view.
No, people would say that's a step too far, I think.
Oh, good God.
I do. I think that, yeah.
If he did the same exact thing, I'm not saying beat her up for 5 minutes and then give it to her. I'm saying just do the same thing on pay-per-view with the people knowing that there's a tease, there's a chance that he's going to get his hands on Marina Shafir and make her pay for all that stuff and then do the same goddamn thing. $1 buckshot, boom, and there you go.
I think it would be a draw if you could do it, but if you did it, the outcry would be too much, I think.
Oh, good Lord. All right. Well, you know what's too much on my outcry? Mina Melons versus Mercedes Moon. The very first match. And it seemed to go forever on Fast Forward. And of course, Tony Storm and her butler, Loopy, or whatever his name is, were at ringside. And Mercedes won with a sloppy small package from the wrong side. So she managed to get a double there. Two different. How can you fuck up a goddamn small package 2 different ways in the same small package? And then Mercedes hit Mina again. And Brian, did you notice? Well, I don't even know whether you watched this, but Mercedes goes back and attacks Mina while she's down, and the male referee got scared and jumped out of the ring in fear. Oh, shit. Did you see that?
I actually did not notice that, no.
I did. It was like, again, it was like fucking Abdullah the Butcher had come with a goddamn saber from behind. Oh, shit. He dove out like, I don't want to get in the middle of this. It's too much for me. What the fuck? So then Storm came in to help Mina up after Mercedes had hit her. And then Mercedes came from behind Toni Storm and hit her in the back of the head with the belt. And then got out there and got Tony's champagne and threw it in Luther's face. And he stood there useless. And she left. So now he's Toni Storm's butler, but this chick has just whacked Toni Storm in the back of the head with a 20-pound title belt and come down and start fingering Toni Storm's dinner and drinking her champagne right in front of him. He ain't going to say boo to her. Then she throws the shit in his face and then walks off. So what good is he? Did you like the comedy travelogue video of the Hardley boys in the limo full of sneakers, riding around their hometown, going back to their grade school? Which, by the way, 2 things. Number one, it had to be a day school wasn't in session, because if they'd have seen Matt and Nick Jackson in the fucking school grounds, they'd have put them back in class where they belong, at the grade school. And secondly, and most importantly, for heaven's sake, I still need some type of proof that they graduated grammar school. I think they need to show us their papers. Does anybody think these videos are any good where they're just making smarmy remarks to each other to amuse each other? And they've wasted money for a camera crew to go out and shoot them driving around in a limousine that Tony rented and do nothing entertaining?
A camera crew.
Nothing.
Brandon Cutler.
There was no point to this. They didn't even pay it off with anything. It was just them. Them.
You know, there's a reason people stopped watching their show before they stopped doing it on YouTube. But that was the thing that kind of put them a little bit over the top with their fan base, was doing the same kind of smarmy, douchey, not good comedy, not good entertainment shows or videos like they just did there. It's terrible. They entertain themselves. If they weren't on this show, the whole Founding Fathers EVP things, you know, all that shit is getting pushed now because of all the pushback of how they don't mean anything. And they mean nothing. It's just bad stuff with these guys.
Well, we'll get to the big stipulation in a second, see if we can unravel that. But we had to go through. So now we've established, apparently they've established, that MJF and the Hurt Syndicate are the only stars in the company. Because they have to, whenever they go out, the segment never ends. The segment never ends, baby. The view never changes. It goes on and on. They keep introducing more and more people into a segment to give them some kind of rub. I don't know what is happening here, but it never ended. And they started with the 4-way match for the number 2 spot in the All-In Casino Gauntlet match for a guaranteed shot at the world title. So they could advertise MJF Wrestling this week. MJF versus AR Fox versus Anthony Bowens versus Brody King. Is it just they think you can put anybody in a match and it doesn't matter? Or are these... Is there no one on the roster that people will buy as actually being a threat to the world title? And so they got to put just 3 filler guys in this with MJF, who isn't Merlin the Magician. But they started, when they started the match, MJF went to color and got on the micro or on the headset, and I'm going to let the idiots kill each other. And I'm almost thinking that they were trying to get out of Tony Khan's booking like I would try to fix Russo's, where like if MJF is in this, it's no DQ, it's no count out. Go to the desk and talk. Let them do shit. And they're trying to make the most out of this that they can. But then finally he had to get in and start doing some shit back and forth with these fucking. Did you see AR Fox try to flip over the ropes to land on the other guy? And he got hung up and flipped himself back into the ring accidentally.
Was it accidentally, or is that kind of his thing? He just flips for no reason.
Well, no, he landed on his feet back in the ring, but he intended to, he didn't mean to, though. He was trying to go out of the ring. So once he realized he was flipping back into the ring, he was able to land on his feet. But if he'd had his preference from the start, he would have been out stomping the guy on the apron. But he got hung going over the top and went backwards. So when MJF got off color and started doing spots with the kids, I fast forwarded to the finish. And MJF armbarred AR Fox to win the thing, as obviously, who could have thought he wasn't? But then Mark Briscoe comes out. And I got to admit, at least I want to see Mark Briscoe and MJF in a program with each other. Multiple matches, do promos back and forth. It's a lot better than the alternative of the rest of the dreck we're seeing. I wish that they had given Mark better booking behind him for the last 2.5 years or so that this would be a main event pay-per-view match. But I'll take it. But he's cutting a promo about MJF's tiny little kosher pickle and that they're number 1 and number 2 in the Gauntlet. And Mark is good, but he challenged MJF for a talk next week. Leave the Hurt Syndicate out. Just me and you. Let's talk next week. Okay. And he left. Is that the first time you've ever heard of a specific challenge between two guys that were already face-to-face talking?
They were already talking, yeah.
To continue to talk next week face-to-face. I've heard the challenge, hey, show up next week. You're not here tonight. Show up next week, and we'll be face-to-face. I've heard that one.
That should have been MJF's reply. We're already talking.
Yeah. But anyway, so next week they're going to talk. And then Briscoe left and music played, and here came Kevin Knight and Hong Kong Phooey. I swear to God. And they're coming down the aisleway all fired up like they want to fight the Hurt Syndicate. And they jump in and they get a little flurry at the start. Spitball shit is so weak. Either the first blows he was trying to strike, it's like a child playing wrestling. And they did a couple of dives, and then the Hurts took over and beat the shit out of them. Just beat and left them laying. And then they start to leave. The Hurts do. And then the same angle as segment 1. The baby faces crawled to their knees and said, no, we haven't had enough. Paige just did this, right?
Couple segments
Hold on,
ago.
let me go back to, hold on, my notes. It says, Paige, yeah, is that the best you got? After getting the shit kicked out of him, they come and kick the shit out of him. So they said, is that the best you got? We're still standing. So MVP sent them back. And they goozled these two idiots and double power bombed them. And they started to leave the ring again. And the fans started lightly chanting one more time. Because why wouldn't you? Because who likes these two jabroni goofs? And then again, the baby faces stagger up. And so we're still here. And the Hurts come in and just beat the shit out of them. That's a third time, right? Just kicked the bejesus out of a boom, boom, and stacked him up and left again. And fucking hell, the faces got the microphone. We're still alive. You're going to have to kill us. And then after that, Kevin Knight called Shelton Benjamin a bitch and challenged him for a one-on-one match for Collision. Yeah, I want to see this. Not only are we going to kick the shit out of the two of you for the fifth time in this match at the pay-per-view, but also I'll kick the shit out of you all by myself, all by yourself on the B show. What the fuck is going on here, Brian?
Oh, I don't know. And it almost seems like they're setting it up for Jet Speed to win the tag titles, but that would be the stupidest thing to do. A makeshift tag team that was put together with a bad name. And again, I know their fans like Speedball. I think Kevin Knight ain't bad, but Speedball,
he's dragging him down.
I enjoy watching Speedball for all the wrong reasons. Like, I don't need to see him in a great match. I enjoy watching him just because it's a clown show. It's a
somebody's claiming those are his real teeth, by the way, instead of a mouth thing.
No way. No, it's a mouth guard. It's absolutely a mouth guard.
Well, somebody said it.
Who is this person?
Somebody on the Twitter. So they got to be right. Go ahead.
Do you want to see that tag match?
No.
And how competitive could it be after all these beatings?
Well, that and also that's the thing is the hurts are over. And they have nobody on the roster that they can book them with that the people would want to see, that they would buy against them, that would be in any kind of way a good match or a money match. And they're sticking them in with these indie fucking darlings. It's a mess. And then after they beat the shit out of them multiple times, you have to kill us. And also, how about me and you on Collision? What the fuck? Yeah. The Hurts look cool and kick ass and like stars, and the baby faces are goofy nerds the size of children whose work looks like shit and they can't whip anybody.
Yeah.
And therefore, nobody gives a shit. I don't have much plainer to say it. Hour and 10 minutes into the show, and this is all we've seen so far. But in an hour and 10 minutes, they could repeat the same angle twice. Is there a producer? Is there any? Well, no, there are producers, but the guys don't listen to the producers from what I'm told. But there is no main show producer. It should be Tony's job if he's the booker or somebody that he hires to make sure they don't do the same angle in 3 different goddamn finishes. But that's the way you determine whether can we do this? Well, hold on. If 3 people want to do the same thing, one's main event, one mid-card, one fucking preliminary, guess which one wins? The next match was Heroes and Villains. Brian, did you see the big Superman movie tie-in?
Oh, they already do the video at this point in the show with Omega and MJF or not yet?
I don't know because I didn't make any notes on it because I was just I know I saw it.
Yeah, the actor who plays the new Superman, the actor who plays Lex Luthor, they both towered over the wrestlers.
Yeah, I'm glad you noticed that. Yeah, the actors were 6 inches taller than both of the wrestlers, and MJF is not a fucking giant. We know that, but the Superman guy, who now facially these actors look like. They wouldn't fucking say boo to Mother Teresa. They're not like intimidating, but they're tall. And the Superman guy was 6 inches taller than Kenny. Or is he just stooped over since they took his guts out?
This is the first time we've seen Kenny since he got hospitalized. And he's out there with a cape on, standing next to Superman. I know he'd be out there at the end of the show, but this is the first time we saw him since he got attacked.
He looked like a real swashbuckler. The cape, he could have. If he'd had a top hat and a cane, he could have fucking turned into Mr. Hyde.
His head always looks like it's about to explode. If you look at pictures of him, like, it looks like it's like bloated to the point where it's going to explode at any second. I don't know. That's another one of my thoughts I had there.
Yes. Well, jot those all down so we don't forget any of them. But back to Heroes and Villains. I don't know which was which here. It was Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, and Bandito versus the Hardley Boys and Take a Shit. And their travelogue was already over. I thought we were going to see some payoff. They just did a video outside their grammar school and showed the limo full of sneakers. But anyway, they had a 6-man tag sponsored by a comic book with the corpse referee. So, and I just said, well, this is where the kids are going to get to play.
A movie, not a comic book.
A movie of a comic book.
Right.
Can they do it in less than 20 minutes was my question. And son of a bitch, they did it in 12. And I appreciate that because you saved a lot of us a lot of time and just duress. So they beat O'Reilly. And then, of course, nothing's ever over in this company. So they're going to get more of their heat. But Osprey and Swerve hit the ring and ran them off. And then they started doing the fucking dueling promo to promote their match where they're going to try again to explain to us the stipulations. Because remember last week, it was, wait a minute, the EVP titles are on the line. So what does that mean that the winners, if Swerve and Osprey win, are they EVPs? What's going on? Well, they're going to clear this up right now.
Oh, that's my favorite part. I was thinking about the other part. I forgot all about that explanation. Who's going to be the EVPs if they win?
Yeah. Well, I think it was an explanation, or maybe it was just something he blurted out because the baby faces wanted the stipulations of the EVP spots being up. And again, only one person runs this. It's Tony Khan. They've established that, but these guys are still EVPs and get away with things for some reason, even though Tony Khan's always on the premises, but he doesn't say anything. But then later on, he'll book a match in 10 seconds. So at first, it was Swerve first that said, a lot of people are saying that if we win, we get to be the EVP. No, if we win, we aren't going to be the EVPs. The people, you fans are going to be the EVPs. Is that official? If Swerve and Osprey win, then does that mean that the fans are all EVPs and they all get to come to the production meeting? But then the Bucks do the promo. No. Besides, you guys can't get along. And I don't think Swerve's on board, but also we ain't going to do this because what do we get out of it? Well, then Osprey comes up with something and he goes over and he whispers to Swerve and Swerve gets the stink face like, what? And Osprey blurts it out that I don't know what still happens to the EVPs, but if Osprey and Swerve lose according to Osprey, then neither he nor Swerve can challenge for the world title for 1 year. What the fuck does the world title have to do with the fuck in this? Neither of the Bucks is the world champion. What do they give a shit about? Help me, Brian. If you guys beat us, then we won't fight other people. But if we win, then the fans get to be the EVPs and you're not.
Why does it help the Bucks if these guys are not world champion?
Exactly. Why would they care? It's not their belts.
And they didn't even say world tag. At first I thought maybe they made a mistake and they meant we won't challenge for the tag team titles because obviously.
But they're not the tag team champions.
Exactly. I mean, even that part doesn't make sense, but neither one of us will challenge for the world title.
Neither one of us will fight another guy if you guys beat us. But if we beat you, then you can't be EVPs anymore and tell people what to do. So the Bucks agree to that. Osprey talked Swerve into it, by the way. Swerve still wasn't real on board with the whole thing. But Swerve said yes, and they're like, okay, it's a deal. And then for whatever reason, the screen went black and the audio went completely out for like 10 seconds. And then they came back as Swerve and Osprey were talking to each other and pitched to the break. Did someone flash the camera with their boobages?
I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened in a multitude of ways. I don't know what happened.
Yes. So they're going to have that match, and those things are going to happen in that match if one of those things happens. That's what we know.
And again, why can't Tony Khan just override any part of this? Why does he allow this all to happen? That's never been explained, especially after they beat him up. Why do the Bucks have any of this power?
Because it makes a good story they came up with for themselves.
I guess it's more enjoyable if you don't try to make things or have things make sense.
Well, but it's always better if you understand what the fuck it is that you're watching in the way of a fake story. Speaking of wondering what you're watching in the way of a fake story, then to make sure that we know that the movie is titled Heroes and Villains, they had another Heroes and Villains match with Swerve and Osprey against Dralistico and Frank Mortis. And they beat old Dralistico in 10 minutes. And they beat both. They double teamed old Frank Mortis, and he rolled out of the ring, and then they just kicked the shit out of the other guy. They kind of overbeat him. But anyway, are you ready, Brian, for our main event of the evening? A main event that I watched in its entirety.
That's one of the big questions. Did Jim actually watch the match?
I had to see what... It's sort of like I had to see what they had to say for themselves. Are these two going to in any way try to earn their money, work hard, get over, add to the program, or are they going to sleepwalk through this shit with as little effort as possible? And I believe we now have our answer. The big main event on television, and I can't wait to hear the ratings. Ibushi versus Oblada. The Battle of the Sleepwalkers. Brian, I have a blow by blow here. But what was your overall opinion? I don't want to sway you in any way. I want you to tell me what you thought of this dream match between these two spry Japanese superstars.
I think Ibushi has the worst facial expressions I've ever seen on a wrestler. Okada's been completely unimpressive. I wanted to see this to see if it could be anything, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it could be at its worst. So that's a positive, because we've seen Ibushi fall apart.
Oh, yeah. He wasn't like a leprosy victim where pieces of him were just falling off.
And I'm sure when Tony was writing out Dynamites in his head, he jerked off all over the place the idea of episode 300 having Ibushi versus Okada. That was probably a big deal.
And it was a big deal to some of the people there at the start. I mean, I don't know how it could have been a big deal after they saw it. But, some of these people have blinders on as far as if you're a big baseball fan, but if Babe Ruth came out to at bat when he's 92 years old, and when he swung the bat, he fell over, would you still go, this is awesome? So Okada opened up with stalling. Thought I was watching a Japanese Larry Zbyszko, and their lockups were flat-footed. They looked like wrestling school lockups. Or just, and then Okada took two chops and rolled out and took a walk. And then Okada kind of gingerly stopped Ibushi and used some weak elbows at a slow pace. Ibushi kicked him. He took one bump and rolled out. Ibushi dove on him as he stood there waiting to catch him. Then Ibushi walked all the way around the ring for no apparent reason to come back for Okada to stop him. And they fought on the floor in slow motion. And they went to the break. And they came back and they were still in slow motion. Okada shot Ibushi off turnbuckle to turnbuckle. And Ibushi looked like he almost tripped and couldn't run to turn. And I mean, it was either Ibushi with the stiff kicks that were slow because he just draw back and whack. Okay. But then he tries the fast ones and they look like shit. Okada hit, I've never seen a flapjack in slow motion before. And in the interest of keeping things logical, he gave Ibushi a flapjack and then slapped on a wrist lock. Well, I mean, he body slammed him, and that elbow drop off the top rope is now. I'm sorry, I know not everybody can be Bobby Eaton. I'm not expecting poetry in motion, but he just crumples off the goddamn top rope and lands at a clunk clunk. I wrote there hadn't been a facial expression between the two of them. Okada did some slow fake forearms. Ibushi at one point fought back with, he was trying to do like boxing or MMA punches, and while Okada just covered up his head with his hands, and either they didn't land or they looked like play fighting. It made Shane O'Mac look like Mike Tyson. Then one guy hits a clothesline. They both lay there for 30 seconds. What the fuck? Nobody's sweating here. They got a big pop. They struggled to balance on the top rope, and then Ibushi gave Okada something off the top rope that got a big pop because it looked like a fuck up. Oh shit, that was dangerous. And he got a 2 count with that. So that was a big move off the top that he hit fucking Okada with, and everybody, oh, he's dead. And then the next move, Ibushi goes for, Okada countered it. He was fine. He got up, hit him with a clothesline, a drop kick, and a clothesline, and beat him 1, 2, 3. So the most severe reaction to any move and the biggest bump that anybody took in the whole match, the guy that took it immediately got up, clothesline, drop kick, clothesline, 1, 2, 3. If you put masks on these guys and change their names and put this same exact match out there in front of people, even the AEW fans would have booted out of the building. And I'm sorry, I want some son of a bitch out there to clip together the parts of this match that look in any way like a classic goddamn wrestling confrontation between any top star and any other top star in history. Just put it next to Ric Flair and Ronnie Garvin trading fucking chops for 20 seconds. What the fuck? The laziest, lack of effort, sloppy work, slow motion movement, lack of emotional investment on the part of the participants, and flat finishes. And then here go Archer and Rocky and Don Fallis get in and get some more heat on Ibushi. And then the music plays and Kenny runs out with a chair and runs the heels off. Except Trent comes into the ring from behind with a police baton. But Ibushi, who just got beat by this guy's fucking various moves, gets up and stops him, and they double team Trent. And then Kenny and Douchey hug as we go off the air. Which, by the way, was about 8 minutes late. Am I being overly dramatic here? Or am I being fairly descriptive?
I think it's fair to say that Ibushi and Okada are washed up. If you've seen any of their previous work from 10 plus years ago, these are not the same guys, and the environment's not the same environment. I was surprised this was the main event. Did you see the post-match footage, the off-air footage of, I don't even know how to describe it.
I did not. So
Omega standing next to Ibushi, and Ibushi took a bump right onto a chair intentionally, hit his head on the chair, and then just got up and walked away. Because the post that was going around was like, look at this idiot, look at him fucking up his neck on his own.
Well, what? I don't have any idea why that would have been a thing that would have happened. I'm very confused now. He just took his own bump on a chair and then got up and left.
That is indeed what happened. I'll see if we can find some footage for you, but that was AEW Dynamite, another banner episode.
Yeah. And again, there's a difference between being washed up and washed up on shore. This looks like goddamn floating corpse matches. I'm sorry. I do apologize.
Well, Jim, no reason to apologize. That was another AEW Dynamite. Maybe other people have a reason to apologize. But why don't we talk about the ratings?
Well, that's the big question. This was show number 300. They had to go all out for this, right? With the dream match with Doofus and Doofus 2 and all this other stuff. So they had to do a big number.
Well, AEW Dynamite on Wednesday, July 2nd, 2025 from Ontario, Canada. Excuse me, not Canada, Ontario, California. This is Ontario, CA. I read it as Ontario, Canada.
You've heard of the other white meat? This is the other Ontario.
8 to 10:08 p.m. on average, watched by 584,000 viewers.
Ouch! Well, they came back from Mexico and came back to somewhat of a little reality last week, but this is reality bites.
That's right. A movie from the 90s, but let's go to these ratings.
And love
here.
hurts.
Jim, let's go to
love
these.
Love hurts, reality bites. Love also stinks. Love stinks and hurts. Did you know that? Whereas reality only bites.
All right, well, little do we know about what Peter Wolf would have thought of this week's Dynamite, but Jim, let's go to the quarter-hour breakdowns. These were compiled by WrestleNomics. Quarter 1, 8 to 8:15 p.m. The Adam Page, Death Rider, Samoa Joe live angle, 687,000 viewers.
Ooh, okay. Two things. One, they're still starting out low, and two, they're going to drop some if they started at that number and to hit their average. So this could be back to normal for an episode of Dynamite.
We go now to quarter 2, 8:15, 8:30 p.m. Mercedes Moné versus Mina Shirakawa. Well, picture ads and bad audio, at least on our part. 593,000 viewers.
All righty, so we're second quarter. We're already under 600. They lost 94,000 people.
Well, we go now to quarter 3, 8:30 to 8:45 p.m. The continuation of Moné versus Mina. The post-match with Tony. The Young Bucks video. An ad break.
Moni.
And the Young Bucks video, it was the second time. Came back from commercial break with more Bucks video. And entrances. 592,000 viewers.
So they're pretty flat there, but they haven't actually seen the Cucamonga kids in the place. That should run them off.
There's an interesting story here on this episode, too, with the key demo. So just real quick, opened at 242, went to 232, now down to 211. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. Quarter 4, 8:45 to 9 p.m. AR Fox versus Bowens versus MJF versus Brody with picture-in-picture ads. And the post-match with the Hurt Syndicate and Mark Briscoe, 589,000 viewers.
And again, they only lost 3,000, so they've stayed 593, 592, 589. The folks that are there are not yet saying fuck it. But also now we've got MJF and Hurt Syndicate around. We should, I would think, gain something at the top of the hour.
Well, we go to the big 9 o'clock hour, 9 to 9:15 p.m., quarter 5. The Hurt Syndicate Jet Speed live angle.
Maybe they won't gain.
An ad break. And the start of Takeshita and the Young Bucks versus Bandito and Paragon. 577,000 viewers.
Yeah. 12,000, but at the top of the hour to see those folks, no.
Well, we go to quarter 6, 9:15 and 9:30 p.m. The continuation of Takeshita and the Bucks versus Bandito and the Paragon, or just Paragon. Picture-in-picture ads. The post-match with Will Osprey and Swerve Strickland, 576,000 viewers.
Good Lord, remarkably flat. Once they flat. Once they pick a number, they stay at 593, 592, 589, now 577, 576. And again, I'm seeing there needs to be some attrition here in the next couple of quarters for them to make their average. They're going to start dropping like flies.
And once again, the key demo, the last time I gave you the number was 211, then it was 198, 197, 198. So steady, it dropped and then it stayed steady, just like the real show. Or just like the overall number, not the real show. Quarter 7, 9:30 to 9:45 p.m. An ad break. Swerve and Osprey versus Drolistico and Mortos. With picture-in-picture. 523,000 viewers. Also, the low point in the key demo at 179.
Ouch, and that's another 53,000 people, and now they're officially down 164,000 from start to that point. And they can't have they're going to do themselves no favors coming up here in this last quarter, so.
Well, we go to quarter 8. I remind you, we have an 8-minute overrun. 9:45 to 10 p.m. An ad break. And the start of Okada versus Ibushi with picture-in-picture. 541,000 viewers. 8-minute overrun. Continuation of the match and the post-match with the Callis family and Omega. 574,000. Here's what's interesting, too. Key demo was at 179 for quarter 7. Jumped to 241 for quarter 8. And then went to 267 for the overrun. I don't know if we've seen a jump like that in recent memory, and that's obviously surprising. The fact that there would only be a 300,000 viewer difference between the overall number and the key demo for Okada versus Ibushi is surprising.
Well, it's the younger folks that are more brainwashed to this horse shit because they didn't have as long to watch actual real pro wrestling. But we take the overrun out because, Jesus Christ, that's 30,000 people wandered in to watch Modern Family. I have a feeling most of those people are adults also. That's why I jumped there. But that they gained 18,000 from quarter 7 to quarter 8 to watch that sleepwalking contest, again, they ought to be turning cartwheels. But the more you show them that they can't do anything anymore, doesn't that take the luster off these guys? Shouldn't he at least try to, instead of putting them in with each other when neither one's going to try, put them in with somebody else that'll work hard?
Maybe you get more bang for your buck if you put them in there together. Even if the match isn't good, if it popped the key demo, which is the only thing the network cares about according to AEW, make it a 2-hour Iron Man match with these two.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Neither one are made out of iron, and that would be the longest 2 hours of anybody's life. Okay, so the dream match, instead of drawing 523,000 viewers, drew 541,000. But a bunch of people, what? Now, wait a minute. Hold on here. Something's wrong here. Explain this to me, how this could happen, Brian. You say quarter 7 was 523,000 people and 179,000 in the key demo, right?
Correct.
Quarter 8 was 541,000 people. That is 18,000 people more than quarter 7. But the key demo is up 62,000 people. So does that mean that not only did 18,000 new people come into that segment, but suddenly 44,000 people that were watching quit, and another 44,000 in a different age group came in.
And by the way, that age group is 18 to 49-year-old males. So it's not like, a small little age group of young people. 18 to 49 is a pretty big.
Well, yeah, but how do they gain a fucking, hold on, 41, how do they gain 62,000 people in an age group, but only gain 18,000 people overall? That means a bunch of other people in a different age group had to quit fucking watching. Suddenly, all by themselves. When it had gone 211, 198, 197, 198, 178, that, that's fluctuate. All of a sudden, how the fuck does that work?
Yeah, if those viewers hadn't come back, would this have been in the 400s for quarter 8?
Not even come back, but it's a whole different goddamn concoction of them.
That's true.
There are 18,000 more viewers overall, but 62,000 more in the key demo. So where'd the 44,000 people that were between the ages of 5 and 9 and 62 and 94 go?
So those lapsed New Japan fans. There was AEW Dynamite for July 2nd. Welcome to the summer.
Well, it is summertime, Brian. You know what summer means? More warmth, more light, more hours in the day, the daytime, the time to spend outside. You're going to be out and about enjoying the moments from sun up to sundown. You need something to listen to. Because you see it all the time, Brian. You see people walking down the street, look like John Travolta walking down the street, staying alive, having Saturday Night Fever. Or you see somebody else walking down the street dancing like Elaine Bennis. You can't hear a dadgum thing. There's no noise. But these people, they're not epileptic. They're just having seizures. They're jerking their body. They're all kind of twitching about. And it's because they're listening to their own private soundtrack on the Raycon Everyday Wireless Earbuds. Brian, many members of your family listen to these things, don't they?
That's right. I had a pair, and then someone in the family took it because they love their Raycon, and Suzanne has them. The kids have them. I will hopefully be getting another new pair soon because I love my Raycon.
You can tell who did that if you have that earwax analyzed.
Well, we're not going to go
because everybody, earwax is just like a blood type. And folks, I'll tell you what, right now, the summertime and the living is easy. And if you're listening to your own soundtrack, it used to be hard. Remember when people used to go out to the beach in the 50s and have to drag their record player along with them and have to actually get down on all fours and somebody would set the record player on the guy's back and then you'd try to figure out how to plug the speakers in and sooner or later the hot dogs would be burnt. Well, now it's easy. And it's not even as hard as back in the boombox days. Brian, you remember that when you had to take a 3-foot long, 2.5 foot high, 80-pound boombox around and listen to your music that way. Now it all goes right in your ears. It all fits right snugly in your ears in a variety of vibrant colors. You can listen to podcasts. You can listen to music. You can listen to talk radio. You can, as a matter of fact, if you want to, have your wife write down a list of things that she needs to nag you about that day. So when you go out on your walk, you can still know what you're doing wrong. All of these things are available with Raycon's everyday earbuds. Well, you can do that also.
Raycon. That is nothing. That's available on your own in your own private time. That's nothing to do with Raycon.
Well, and maybe have her make a sexy time tape. So when you walk down the street, you can listen to the sounds of your wife and pet Dalmatian screaming. And speaking of battery power, with Raycon's quick charge function, just 10 minutes of charging yields 90 minutes of battery. Don't go back and listen to this show.
No, that was sexy time?
These earbuds also, don't listen to it again. You'll want to start messing with it. These earbuds also come with active noise cancellation, which is something difficult to find. You can't cancel the noise today in this world for any price. And Raycons start at just half the price of other premium audio brands. You can get 2 pair of these for the same price. You can get one of these overpriced, high-priced premium brands. That means you can have a pair and a spare just in case something happens to the pair you got a spare. Or you can find some underprivileged person, go up on the street and stick these things in their ears and imagine their surprise. Watch their face when you give homeless people a pair of these earbuds set to like a police scanner. It's amazing how they'll just immediately start listening like their lives depend on it.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about examples that apply to you that we can all relate to. Needing to listen to some good tunes on the treadmill, needing to get up and go and take your tunes or your podcast with you. Raycon, great earbuds. I wear them. Yes. I love them. My family does. Jim.
Stacy loves them too. Stacy snatches them up every time, and she hasn't heard me speak to her since probably 2015.
You know what her favorite color is?
She's always listening to stuff.
I know what her favorite color of Raycon is.
Chartreuse.
No, mint.
Oh, she got the mint. That's right.
Chartreuse. What?
The chartreuse were a favorite. You know, you can take phone calls on these sumbitches too.
Yes, I
now
did.
Think about this. Let's say that you've called in sick at work and they call you back just to make sure you're sick, but you're out there sunbathing. All you got to do is make sure you sunbathe right next to your car. And then you say, I'm walking to the doctor's office right now. I'm so sick. And then you blow your horn and scream and slam the door. And then you can get 2 weeks more off of work because they'll think you're in a hospital in traction. See, imagine that, being able to take phone calls anywhere on the go while you're just walking around outside.
Well, let's imagine
it's amazing.
Let's imagine that part, not the other part. But what's such a great thing is that this is a great deal for the listeners. Jim, why don't we let them know how they can get their Raycon at a great price right now?
Yes, all you got to do is track down the name of the head of Raycon and then scream while honking a horn and slamming a door, and then threaten to sue them unless they send you some new Raycon everyday earbuds. Or if you want to go about it the old-fashioned way.
They have a website that they like us to use.
Yes, if you want to be old-fashioned about it, go to BuyRaycon, BuyRaycon, BuyRaycon.com/JCE. You're going to get 15% off Raycon's best-selling everyday earbuds for music or talk or phone conversations or intercepting secret missions from NASA. You can do everything in this world today.
No, we can't intercept
you've got communication
audio.
and you got communication devices in your head. You'll be able to pick these things up. And if you raise the My Favorite Martian special antenna.
No, there's no antenna. There's no antenna.
Well, that's only when you press the sound canceling button and go, Uncle Martin, then the antenna go up and you are talking to Mars.
No antenna, but a great way to enjoy your favorite music, your favorite shows. Raycon, Jim, what's that website and that promo code?
15% off the best-selling everyday earbuds at buyraycon.com/JCE. Well, I'll tell you what, you might have Raycons in your ears, but if Ibushi had Raycons in his ears, they would have popped out because you just sent me the clip. What in the world? So they're standing in the ring, him and Kenny. After the show has gone off the air, there's a chair laying in the ring, and Ibushi just turns his back on it, flings himself up in the air, takes a flat back bump with the back of his head landing on the chair, then pops up to his feet, jumps up, gets out of the ring, and waves at everybody and walks off. Even Kenny's looking like, what the fuck did he do that for? What is the matter with these people? Why would you do that? Oh, here, let me take one more bump to show you that everything is all fake and nothing hurts, even the shit that really does. And then I'll hurt myself and then go back to the dressing room.